G'day guys, Googs here. Well, we're coming towards Australia Day, and once again, for God knows how many years running now, there's contention in the air. There are some people who are really offended by the fact that January the 26th is Australia Day, and I don't understand it. I do understand, their reasoning, but I don't understand why they think this is going to help ultimately with race relationships in this country as they're presented by their arguments. Their arguments are essentially this: that because in 1788 the English colonialists and a whole heap of convict slaves came to Botany Bay, they usurped the land from the Aboriginal people, from the different tribes. In many cases there was enslavement. In the case of Tasmania, there was a genocide, and the Tasmanian Aboriginals were all but wiped off the face of this earth. And this happened somewhere between the 24th and the 28th of January, when the first fleet arrived in Australia. Now, some people have conflated this with Captain Cook. Guys, Captain Cook had nothing to do with the first fleet. He was dead before the first fleet got here. Okay? So why is this such a controversial issue? Why do these people believe that changing the date from the 26th of January to whichever date you want to put it on, 14th of March, 23rd of November, whatever date you want to put it on, right, is somehow going to change that history? Somehow it's going to stop the first fleet from occurring. Somehow going to change the fact that, the English colonists were absolutely terrible to the Aboriginal people. And of course there were conflicts going on both sides, and we can have that argument, but to me that's a different point. Generally and largely speaking, yes, the English were very cruel to the Aboriginal people. Of that there can be no doubt. But changing Australia Day from the 26th to any other date is not going to change that. It's not going to change it, because if you have it on the 19th of November, it represents Australia, doesn't it? Well, a part of our history, unfortunately, are the times where the English colonists oppressed, and the white Australians up to middle of last century, oppressed the Aboriginal people. And that's still going to be there. The ghost of that is still going to be there. It doesn't matter which day of the year you have it on. Alright? So to say, look, 26th of January, because it's close to the date where we think the first fleet landed in Australia, because of that, we can't have it on that date. Well, I'm here to tell you it wouldn't matter what date you put it on, because our history is our history whether we like it or not. And to be quite honest, I wish our history didn't contain majority of what it contains when it comes to race relationships in this country. I really don't. I would much prefer it to be otherwise. However, it isn't. And to those Aboriginal people who feel very strongly about 26th of January changing, it isn't going to stop history being real. It isn't going to change the fact that your people were oppressed. Nothing's going to change. Oppressed and killed. That's not going to change anything. So it doesn't matter what day you have it on. Those memories are still going to be there for you if that's how you feel. You're not actually going to win anything. And you're not going to achieve anything. The only thing you're really going to achieve is having this weak victory of somehow pretending that history has changed, and you don't have to feel so bad about the history of our country because it's now on October the 31st. But the history is still there. If you need to come to terms with our history, okay, that's something that you're going to have to process for yourself, whether you like it or not. Whether I like it or not. Okay? What we can do, though, is learn from that history, and so that we don't oppress others going forward. History is what it is. We can't change what was, but we can change, and we have been changing what is since at least since the 60s in this country. It's a slow process. It takes generations, but it's changing. So changing the date is not going to help your argument. It's not going to help your feelings. It's not going to help your fight. But I'll tell you what it will do. It'll piss off a majority of this country. And your activism won't actually achieve what you're hoping to achieve, which is, of course, unity. Or unless it's for selfish reasons of, I demand, so therefore it must be, which, is about as un-Australian, hate using that term, but it is about as un-Australian as you can get. So instead of worrying about changing the date, let's work on changing attitudes. Let's work on changing ideas. Let's work on working together. Let's do that, because that's ultimately going to build unity. That's ultimately going to bring us together in a true multicultural sense that everybody understands everybody else. Everybody leaves people alone if they want that. Everybody can hang out if they want that. You know, everybody can have a beer. But fighting for something to change a date because you don't like history is absolutely banal and pointless. I'm Googs, and I'll catch you later. Right.